in Agriculture, where we talk about everything future of agriculture, everything from drones to obviously our crop booster technology, biophysics, microbial additions, and all these different things. I'm kind of interested that I'm talking to farmers. We got a couple of new farmers on board in the last couple of days, and hay grower, and we're excited to get into turf grass because that's a huge industry. And of course, we all have lawns that we want to keep nice and healthy and nice and green. And wouldn't it be great to get turf and sod that's actually healthy instead of half dead when you get to it? And then, of course, if you want to keep it that way, you can order one of our garden devices for your house and keep all of your plants, not just your turf, but everything healthy. So, in today's episode, though, I want to talk a little bit about amendments, because I think that it's a really important topic. And it's really important, and I'm not here to vilify anybody or change people's minds, but it's really important to understand how certain amendments are affecting other things regarding your farm. Because it's one thing to say, well, hey, I need to add nitrogen, I need to add phosphorus, I need to add potassium, and other nutrients, right, to my soil. So you're adding that fertilizer, right? But that fertilizer is actually reducing microbial activity. So it's almost like you're fighting yourself. If everything was perfect, if you had really good soil and really good microbial activity in the soil, you would have all the nutrients that those plants need to grow healthy and strong, right? And that was the whole impetus behind regenerative farming, right? Because regenerative farmers are planting cover crops, they're using no-till methods, they're using various techniques to make sure that the soil is able to hold on to those nutrients, and the microbes in the soil, especially if you're using manures or biological amendments or those types of things and cover cropping, what you see is those microbes in the soil will really extend those root structures down into the soil. It increases organic matter. It increases your CEC, or your positively charged ions in the soil, which can hold nitrogen into the root zone for much longer, and that gives the plants more opportunity to absorb that nitrogen. And it also is way better for the environment, obviously. A lot of people don't know that every time you till your crop, if you're using standard methods and you're tilling the crop, you're releasing, billions of tons of carbon and billions of tons of nitrogen, which is even worse than carbon, up into the air. And that's a big reason why we have a lot of this global warming. It's not because we're all driving cars. It's not because there's a lot more humans that are using more fossil fuels. I mean, that's part of it. But a lot of it really comes from agriculture, and it's not necessarily the farmer's fault. You guys are just trying to make a living. But it is a big problem, and it's something that we need to look at. And I don't think we need to go the route of, enforcing the fact that you can't use nitrogen or enforcing the fact that you can't till your land or whatever. But we really need to sort of come up with solutions, viable solutions that will enable the farmer to continue to make a good living, continue to get a good crop out, but do so in a way that's maybe more environmentally responsible and in a way that's healthier and even more profitable. Like if I could make you more money using a regenerative farming technique in my crop booster technology, doesn't it make sense? I mean, wouldn't you want to look at that, right? And we're doing that. We're actually approaching that with farmers all over the world right now. A lot of farmers, these big farming operations with thousands of hectares, are giving us a look. They're giving us 100 acres or giving us a couple hundred acres. They're allowing us to show them what this crop booster can do. And that's really huge. And as you look at regenerative techniques, if you're kind of looking and scratching your head and saying, well, I'm interested in this, but I just can't pull away from what I'm normally doing. Just understand that there are ways to help reduce that stress of taking that leap from conventional down to more regenerative practices. And sometimes you have to start small. If you got 20,000 acres, maybe you don't start 10,000 or 20,000 acres. We have a couple farmers right now they have 22,000 acres, and he's trying to transition 1,000 acres a year into organic. So he's looking at a 20-year project to get all of his land into organic production. And that stepwise approach is a good idea because now he's ensured that he's going to keep getting a good yield, but as he's building his organic practice and his organic side of the business, he's going to get premium prices for that, and that's going to help continue to convert that. So this corn farmer I'm talking about is going to be using us this year. We sent him a couple of pivots. He's actually using it on soybeans this year, so it's a little bit different. But we're working with other soybean, wheat, and corn guys. Hay guys are really interested. Hay is very interesting because The growers of hay are not necessarily interested. I mean, we do have a few hay farmers that got amazing yields, but the quality of those yields is huge. And that's a big thing. If you're a rancher and you're growing your own feed, whether it's green chop, whether it's corn, whether it's wheat, whether it's hay, or whatever you're feeding the cattle, if you're growing with a crop booster, then not only are you going to get better yields out of that fodder crop, but you're going to get better quality. We've seen things like increased protein content, increased fat content, improved nutrient density. I mean, all this is just going to make your animals more healthy. And if your animals are healthy and they're able to gain weight faster and to gain weight in a healthy way, then of course you're going to be able to sell that cattle for more money. And of course, you're going to make a lot more money in the investment. At the end of the day, I mean, you can make money by shortcutting things, but that's only good for the short term. And after a few years or a couple of decades, if you're lucky, that's all going to come back to bite you. And that's what too many farmers are seeing right now. They're seeing the fact that their soil is ruined. They barely have any topsoil. They're not, they haven't been good stewards of the land, and now a lot of them are going out of business. Here in Florida, we have citrus greening, which is like wiping out the entire citrus industry. And we're, of course, trying to come in with our solution to help them out, to help them recover. And it's going to be a big process. It's going to be difficult, difficult even for us, because they have killed all the microbial actions out of their soil. So we need to help them rebuild their soil. They've killed a lot of the enzymes that would normally handle citrus greening and those bacterial buildups in the trees, and now they have to add those enzymes back. So there's so many different things that you can look at, and at the end of the day, you can continue doing things the way you're doing it, and until you just can't do it anymore, and either retire, or then you're forced to change to a more environmentally friendly approach, or you can start now. And if you want to start with a field or two, then the crop booster can help you. And then we want to be part of that process to help you continue to stay profitable while making these transitions. And the most important thing you should be really looking at is biologicals. But here's the key thing, and this is the key thing that I don't know that a lot of the biological vendors are even telling you, and definitely probably a lot of the researchers are not telling you, but this is something that's going to be a key. It's going to be very important. So if you learn nothing else from my talk today, I want you to learn this. Pay attention to the kinds of chemicals and inputs that you're using when you're looking to add biologicals, because if you're adding microbes and cyanobacteria and mycorrhizae and humus and all these other biological amendments or bioamendments into the soil to sort of make up for this loss, just understand that if you're continuing to use those same chemicals, then you could be counteracting that. In other words, the chemicals that you're using might be killing off the microbes that you're adding to the soil. So you don't want to have a situation where you're spending money to add something that's been depleted in the soil, but then you're also adding something else which is going to kill off that thing that you're now adding. So don't double your cost. Just be really aware of the kinds of amendments you use, the kinds of inputs you use, the kinds of fertilizers you use, and be sure to work with your biological vendor to make sure that you're not killing off the new stuff that you're adding. Otherwise, you really are just throwing a lot of money away that you don't need to. The crop booster will boost microbial activity, the beneficial microbes, so it's a very important key component of that. But we want to make sure that you're not doing things which are also destructive to those microbes, which would counteract the positive benefits you can get. We do have a few grape growers in certain places where they got better sizing, they got good yield, but they still had a botrytis problem, and that had to do with the types of chemicals that they were using that we're now having to consult with them. So if you're going to go the biological route, make sure you consult with your vendor. Tell them what you're using. I talked to a farmer in Hawaii today who is she's an organic farmer, but she's using a copper fungicide to maintain and kill off the fungus that she's using. But that copper is actually reducing microbial activity in the soil, which is making the problem worse in the first place. So I'm going to be working with her to try to get her coffee back up to snuff and reduce that leaf fungus that she's got. But sometimes it takes an approach that takes more than just a crop booster or more than just the microbials. But if you want more information about how to implement regenerative farming techniques, implement more biological amendments to your soil, or get more natural or more organic supplements to what you're doing, so that you can be more environmentally friendly, but also more profitable and more sustainable as you go along, then give us a call at 727-324-6750, or also email us at service@harvestharmonics.com, and we'd be happy to work with you. Hope to have a great weekend, and we'll see you again next week, guys. Have a great day. and we look forward to working with you guys this year. So we got a lot of people jumping on board. I want a lot more of you guys on board this year. It's time. It's time to do something that's proactive and that's innovative and that's going to propel your farm into the next level. And let's do it this year. We don't have to wait till 5 or 10 years. Let's